Start recording. Destroying chametz. A deeper analysis. Okay. Who remembers the word? The mitzvah of destroying chametz. What's it called? What's the word in the Torah?
Miracle.
No, in the Torah. Okay, it's tashbisu. That's the mitzvah say. You should destroy it. Okay? There's two ways to understand this, which we're going to be focusing today in the class. There's the passive way. Anyone want to try this Rosh Hashanah? It's not a common one. Anyone know what this Rosh Hashanah is?
Shul.
Not everyone at once.
Shul and Torah.
Learn it now, because we're going to use it a lot in today's class. It's called Shav Ve'al Taseh. It's a Hebrew way of saying passive. It's usually the other way around. It's usually very short in Gemara lingo, or in the Talmud, and the English is much longer. Here it's Shav Ve'al Taseh, literally like sit and not do. As opposed to active, Kum Ve'eseh. How is this mitzvah fulfilled? That's what we're going to analyze today. Okay? And this will become clear as we get to the text. Just this is the overview. Okay? Everyone with me so far, Shimon? Okay. What we're going to be focusing and studying is Minchas Chinuch. You ever heard of this rabbi, Rabbi Yosef Babad? He lived from 1801 to 1874 in Poland. The Rambam wrote a Sefer HaMitzvahs. The Sefer HaChinuch is like a commentary on all the mitzvahs, like a digest that's based on the Rambam's, pretty much on the Rambam's Sefer HaMitzvahs. It's not clear who authored the Sefer HaChinuch. And then, based on the Sefer HaChinuch, there's Rabbi Yosef Babad wrote a super commentary called the Minchas Chinuch. And this is really, really amazing. Look, just keep in mind these few words when he writes in the beginning. So, the mitzvah number 9, mitzvah tes, Parshas Bo, he goes by the Torah portions. Lahaser kol chametz, to remove all the chametz from your possession. Bevor berambam, perik beis mehilchais chametz umatzah. The Rambam in chapter 2 of the laws of chametz and matzah explained, V'hinei b'inyanim elu harichu harishaynim v'achraynim u'kemat lo yinichu mokem li'izgader laharich b'pratei anyanim. Wait, I'm sorry. Let me read this again. Before the Rambam perik beis mehilchais chametz umatzah. You can see all the details of this in the Rambam in chapter 2. He discusses the mitzvah tashbisu. Okay? Now, regarding these matters, this topic of tashbisu, they already spoke at length, all the Rishonim and Achrayim, Kemat lo yinichu mokem li'izgader. They didn't leave anything really left to discuss, to analyze and define. And to go into all the specific details, you need its own huntras, needs its own treatise. Ein kavanas zeh achibo, and that's not what I want to do in my work. So I'll just write a little brief analysis about this topic, a little discussion. We'll go into something that I found to go into. Okay, just keep it. This intro is amazing. In retrospect, look at his kitzur. You ready? Hine lechoyda yesafik im hamitzvah saseh hu sheyehei chametz mushbas. There's it's a suffix, it means a doubt, but it's a hakira. There's two ways of looking at it. Is the positive mitzvah of tashbisu that the chametz has to be destroyed? When it comes midday Erev Pesach, the chametz has to be mushbas. Sheyehei chametz mushbas. V'im yesh chametz, and if you do have chametz, besides for let's say the Bal Yirah Bal Yamatzah, besides for violating the prohibition of owning chametz, a negative prohibition, Bal Yirah Bal Yamatzah, in addition to that, you'll be transgressing ala essay, the positive mitzvah, tashbisu, because you have chametz. That's how you violate it, by having chametz. And if you have no chametz in your possession, Einu over belav. Not only you don't transgress any negative prohibition of only chametz, also the positive mitzvah you are fulfilling passively. You just don't have chametz, so you fulfilled it. This is the first way of looking at it. Okay, and he brings an analogy. Shabbos for Yom Tiv. Shabbos and Yom Tiv are a very good parallel. The malacha of doing work. It says, Shabbos and Yom Tiv Ika Asay the Shabbat sign. Basiyas malacha. There's a positive mitzvah besides for the prohibition of not doing work on Shabbos and Yom Tiv. There's also a positive mitzvah to rest, to make it restful. Which, how do you violate that? By doing work. So when you don't do work, you get both a positive mitzvah of tishbais, and you didn't violate the prohibition of doing work on Shabbos. How do you get it? Passively. The same time. You get it simultaneously. I'm going to read it now. If somebody transgresses, let me put this marker. You transgress the positive mitzvah, and the negative of not doing work on Shabbos. And if you didn't do malach on Shabbos, besides for not violating the prohibition of working on Shabbos, you also fulfill the positive mitzvah of resting on Shabbos. Ikra mitzvah kan shlo yiyeh chametz b'shusay hu mushpas b'shusay k'maya mitzvah say the Shabbos. So the same way you could understand the prohibition of having chametz and the mitzvah of destroying chametz. You could say they're just two sides of the same coin. Just like by Shabbos, the mitzvah to rest and the mitzvah to not do and the prohibition of not doing work are just two sides of the same coin. When you can't fulfill only one. If you fulfill one, fulfill the other. It just works that way. If you don't have chametz, you fulfill the positive mitzvah, and you didn't violate the negative mitzvah. If you do have chametz, you violated both. Im kain, I'm skipping the small letters. If so, hachinami, im hayulai chametz over asay v'loisasay, like we just said. If the person has chametz in his possession, he transgresses the positive mitzvah of tashbisu. He didn't get rid of it. The loisasay and the prohibition of only chametz. Im ein le chametz, and if it does not have chametz on Pesach, he got rid of it or he ran out of it. The kayim gam kein ha mitzvah te tashbisu. After he Shabbat, he totally fulfills the mitzvah of destroying chametz, of getting rid of chametz, even though he did nothing. It's Shabbat. He didn't destroy any chametz, he just ran out of it a week before, he never bought a new one. But he doesn't have chametz, he gets all the mitzvahs. This is all the first perspective, the passive way. It's called Shav V'al Taseh. Am I going too quick, or is everyone with me?
No, it just doesn't really seem analogous.
What?
It doesn't really seem like it's a good analogy. Rest, by definition, rest is a passive thing. Destroying something is not passive. That's
great question. So the way he's looking at it here is he's saying, does it mean tashbisu? Is the Torah is obligating you to make sure you get rid of all your chametz? That's how you fulfill it. It's actually the same word.
That's rest.
Tashbisu. It's actually the same thing. Literally, it means to make it rest from existing. So if you take a break from only chametz, that's what it could be translated also. It could actually be very, very similar the way you interpret it.
I think that brings the point better when you translate it like that.
Yeah.
The English word destruction doesn't have the same.
Right. Get rid of it or take a break from owning it. Tashbisu, rest from owning it. It's really similar. Okay. You ready? The student's going to give you 6 practical differences, how you look at the mitzvah. 6 differences in halacha we're going to do now. if you look at it passively or not. And he's going to explain the other way of looking at it as he starts going into the nafkaminas. But I'm going to just tell you briefly, or do you understand it as a obligation to a positive mitzvah you only get when you destroy chametz. Literally, that's the only way to get the positive mitzvah. If you have chametz and you destroy it. If not, you didn't get the mitzvah. Let's see his words. Number one. You're taking notes? You're going to write the 6 nafkaminas? You getting it? No. Let's do it. Number one. Follow me the words of the Minchas Chinuch, okay? Let's see if I can do it. Oh, you don't see it yet. According to this understanding, there's no reason to be particular to make sure you have some chametz left to destroy on Erev Pesach. You totally fulfill the mitzvah if you don't have chametz. That's how you fulfill it. If you ran out of chametz, it's fine. There's no concept of make sure you have some chametz to destroy on Erev Pesach, right? K'moy mitzvah tzitzis, just like tzitzis. The mitzvah kol ish Yisrael lilvash dalet kanfish kedei lekayim mitzvah pekum v'esei. And it's actually saying you don't have to be particular, like by tzitzis, for example, where you have to pursue it. You have to if you want to get the mitzvah, you have to have a garment that's obligated in tzitzis. That's made out of, let's say, wool and linen, and then it has 4 corners, right? That's according to the 4 corners everyone agrees with. But there are opinions that only if it's made out of wool or linen, it has to have tzitzis. So you have to try to have a garment that's obligated in tzitzis in order to do the mitzvah. If not, you don't get the mitzvah. Right? But it's according to the way we explained it so far, you actually get the mitzvah destroying chametz, even if you don't destroy any chametz on Erev Pesach. You don't have chametz, it's fine. It's not like tzitzis. Avokan, memelo niskayim mitzvah, ve'en tzarich lachse klal achar chametz. You don't have to pursue chametz because it's not like that. You fulfill the mitzvah by not having chametz. It's not like you have to make sure to destroy anything. Let's continue. Number 2. Hold that. I'll explain that in a moment. V'gam nafkamina. It's also a practical difference. If you wanted to burn your chametz on Pesach or at a Pesach by Chatzos time, and someone grabs your chametz and burns it for you instead of you, he steals your mitzvah. The Mevor b'Choshen Mishpat Shin Pei Beis. To explain the Choshen Mishpat, did you know this? That you get a knas. You could sue somebody for stealing your mitzvah. And it says there that Maneach Chaveda Lases mitzvah. Let's say, for example, you could take it to court and sue him, and he has to pay you financial compensation if he takes away your mitzvah. Let's say you slaughtered a bird, and someone covered all the blood. He took away your mitzvah of covering the blood. So you could take him to court if you're that type of person, and make him pay you. They'll determine an amount that he has to pay you. So let's say someone burnt your chametz.
Is that what Hashem wants them?
I said if you're that type of person.
Is that what Hashem wants?
Probably not.
So why are you able to do that?
You should have realized from this part from that section of Shulchan Aruch, perhaps it wants us to realize how precious it is to do a mitzvah, to try to do it yourself. But after the fact, you should probably be meichel. Unless the guy is, what is it called? He's actually, he has like a chronic, he keeps doing it.
Kleptomaniac.
He might need something.
Just to burn it.
Again, wait. So, the same thing here. If someone steals your chametz, takes your chametz and puts it in the fire, he took away the opportunity from you. Could you sue him or not? Say if you say the mitzvah is passive, he didn't steal no mitzvah from you. It doesn't matter. No one can take that from you. If your possession, there is no chametz, you got the positive mitzvah. You rested from owning, you took a break from owning chametz. But if you say it's a positive active mitzvah that you have to destroy chametz, so then you could take this person to Beis Din. Yes.
But didn't you say the night before, Kol Chamira, all my chametz isn't mine, so technically
That I
that
don't know
chametz
about.
that you're owning right now isn't actually yours. It's just to.
No, you actually you don't mevatel the chametz that you're planning to burn.
Oh, okay.
That you're planning to burn to fulfill the mitzvah of burning. We'll soon see.
But aren't you also?
According to this opinion, you would have to have in mind not to do it. If you want to get the mitzvah, you should have not the chametz that you're planning to burn. Don't be mevatel.
Also, you can say that you're happy to burn it. So even if it is passive or doing it, you should do it. You're ending up gonna burn it anyway. So does it
Right, but if it's an active mitzvah, right? So then you lost that mitzvah opportunity if someone did it for you. That's the question. So he continues, Avokan, even the a mitzvah klal, alav, bekum v'aseh. But according over here in chametz, according to this perspective that we're saying now, that there's no positive mitzvah. You don't have to actually destroy chametz. Mitzvah. You just automatically get the mitzvah when you have no chametz in your possession when midday of Erev Pesach hits. He didn't take nothing from you. Any way that it ceases to be in this world, he totally gets the mitzvah saseh if the chametz is eliminated from the world and he doesn't have any chametz in his possession. It doesn't matter that someone else burnt it for you. The Shabbos v'yamtiv, because it's like mamish like the asay of the resting. It's mamish like tishbais, like the resting on Shabbos. That you get it as long as you didn't do the work. Also here you get the mitzvah as long as you don't know chametz. So you can't complain that somebody burnt it for you. You could thank him. Kids are really into it. They want to burn chametz. They'll offer to do it. Also, there's a concept mitzvah by Yosef Mishluchai. That's another concept. If it's a active mitzvah of destroying the chametz, we know there's a famous principle that by many mitzvahs, in general, we say it's better to do the mitzvah yourself than through a shliach. There are certain mitzvahs you could use a shliach for, but there's a concept of doing it yourself. It shows more love, more devotion to Hashem. One of the places you could use a shliach is a mitzvah to get married. You could get it would be very bad optics also, but it says you're supposed to do it yourself better than having someone else represent you. You could have your friend go and say, do the chuppah and say, you could say that you are married to the person who sent me, and she accepts, and it would work. Very not recommended, but right. So, but in general, even the mitzvahs that could be done by shliach. We had a class about it. Remember Parashas Boy? There was different kind of mitzvahs. There's a concept of it's better to do it yourself, but that would not apply over here if the mitzvah is passive, because there's no concept of you destroying the chametz. So you could give it to your kids to do it, no problem, and so on. The children might be part of the chinuch, but you could ask your friend to do it. Okay. Now, at this point, so far we had how many nafkaminas? 2. Before he says Shamur, he's going to share the other perspective. Dilma, or perhaps the mitzvah alav bekum ve'eseh, the yashbis achametz. Or perhaps you could look at it differently. Say there's a concept of physically destroying the chametz. That's how you fulfill the mitzvah tashbisu. The Torah says tashbisu. Which is understood to refer to the day before Pesach, Erev Pesach, and the Gemara has a whole page proving that. So and Ach means at midday, divides the day. At midday on Erev Pesach, Tashbisu, you have to destroy the chametz, make it rest from existing, eliminate it, take a break from owning it. Right? There's different ways of understanding it. You can understand it also that it means you have to destroy it. And there's a positive. The active component to that. In this perspective, if you don't have chametz, you didn't get this mitzvah. Just like if you didn't have a 4-cornered garment, you don't have the mitzvah opportunity to do the mitzvah of tzitzis. It's okay. I mean, you want to try to do it, but if you don't have it, you can't do it. You just don't get the mitzvah. Just like if you don't have a four-cornered garment. Did you transgress the prohibition of wearing a four-cornered garment without fringes? No. But did you get the mitzvah? No. Same thing would be by chametz, according to this perspective. That if you don't have chametz, did you violate owning? No. But it's a separate idea. But did you get the mitzvah of destroying it? Also not. You can look at it that way. Hachinami gamke. Kamayasa. Here would be the same thing as there. The mitzvah of liknais talis is a mitzvah to acquire a talis. In order, and why would you want to do that? To make yourself obligated in the fringes in order to fulfill the mitzvah of Hashem, the connection with Hashem, the opportunity to connect. Hachinami, mitzvah lachser, shehiyah lechametz kaidem pesach. Also here by chametz. According to this perspective, to it be a virtue to try to make sure you have chametz or buy chametz, just to be able to fulfill this mitzvah. It's one of the 630 mitzvahs. Kaidem pesach v'yivayra say b'yudal kedei lekayim. It's a say bekom v'esay on the yudal on that of Pesach, the 14th day of Nisan. You should destroy it then in order to fulfill the positive mitzvah. Bekom v'esay in an active way. If not, you don't get the mitzvah. Well, if also according to this perspective, if someone snatches this mitzvah from you, he grabs your bag of chametz and he burns it in his own fire. He would be liable to the fine that we mentioned before from Chayshim Mishpah, that if someone steals a mitzvah from you, you could technically sue him in court. Though, like as you pointed out, it's not such a praiseworthy pursuit usually. Okay. Another nafkamina. This is really crazy. Seems very extreme. So another practical difference if you say this mitzvah is active. In Cain comes out, if so, in Yishprish chametz for Pesach, you found chametz on Pesach and you ate it. You ate the chametz as a way of destroying it. Loi kayim mitzvah. You do not get the mitzvah tashbisu. He have a mitzvah haba be'aveda. See that Rosh Tevis? It would be a mitzvah haba be'aveda. That it's coming through a sin, transgression, so that you don't get the mitzvah. You can't do a biblical mitzvah. He's going to go. Let's see. He goes into it. According to the opinions that say mitzvah haba be'aveda minat toida lo yatz. According to the perspective that a mitzvah that comes about through a transgression, a biblical avera, lo yatsa. So here you ate chametz on Pesach, that's a terrible sin. So you cannot get the mitzvah tashbisu. However, what if you say it's passive? Even if you ate it on Pesach, doesn't matter how you got rid of it. You're not avera, but you still get the mitzvah from tashbisu, because now you start getting the mitzvah. Of you cause things to be that you don't have that there's no chametz in your possession from now on. It's irrelevant how it happened. It makes no difference. So then it doesn't puncture your mitzvah. The kind of mitzvah I say, even the ein le chametz, because he has no chametz on Pesach. So that's a really crazy one. Also not recommended. Number 4. When is the time to destroy it? When is the actual time to destroy the chametz? It would be a big difference how you look at it, based on these two perspectives. V'gam, additionally, if the mitzvah is active, lo yatsa, you do not fulfill the mitzvah, ela im kein kayim ha-mitzvah bizmana, chatzai sayayim yudal. It would have to be by midday, on Erev Pesach, on the 14th day of Nisan. And by Milah, just like circumcision. That the Torah sets the time for the mitzvah to be on the morning or the day of the 8th day from the birth. Before then, you do not fulfill a mitzvah if you do it early. So if the mitzvah is active, then if you do it early, you get rid of all your chametz before the time of destroying it, when the mitzvah kicks in, then you did not get you don't get the mitzvah. It's like doing a circumcision early. Here also, before midday, which is the time of the biblical time when you have to burn it, so you would have to actually burn it the moment after midday in order to get it, which is really playing with fire, pun intended. You're burning it, but it's playing with fire because if you wait an extra minute, then you only get after midday, which is really, really serious. You have to be like sitting there with your chametz, you fire, looking at the clock, as soon as it's midday, boom. If you wait, you actually only get at the time when it's already, it says no chametz should be in your possession at the time of the Karban Pesach. Remember that verse, a special prohibition during midday, after midday, when the time when you bring the Karban Pesach. What about the other perspective? If the mitzvah is fulfilled passively, shav ve'al taseh, im kain, ha'ikr de lo yeh lechametz. If so, the main thing is not to have chametz then. You could get rid of it a week before, 2 weeks before, a month before, many hours before. It makes no difference. When the midday comes, when the time approaches, ein lechametz, kayim ha'mitzvah say. Time comes and he has no chametz, he fulfills it. Doesn't matter when you destroy it and how you destroy it, according to our perspective. Okay? That's number 4. Number 5. For feminists. Not sure who this is. I remember blanking out. The Noshi Chayavas Mitzvah Zu. I think it's a Rav Mechaber, the Shulchan Ohr. I think he's referring, this is how he refers to the Shulchan Ohr. Him, Rambam is Reish Mem, Rabbeinu Moshe, and this is a Rav Mechaber, I think. The Noshi Chayavas Mitzvah Zu. This would be supported by the idea that the woman, he writes in the Shulchan Ohr, that women are obligated in this mitzvah. This is understood. This is good. Imhi b'shav taseh. V'mitzvah say the shav taseh nashi chayaves. Naf be'asman grama k'ma yamtiv. Okay, you have to know a little background. Briefly, I'll go over the concepts. Women are obligated in all the negative prohibitions. If positive mitzvahs, the ones that are time-bound, they're usually exempt. Any positive mitzvah that's time-bound, like Shofar and Rosh Hashanah, or Lulav and Sukkot.
It's good for them to do that.
Answers, yeah, Thursday, you can even do a bracha. The Alter Rebbe paskins. But some communities say you shouldn't, but the Alter Rebbe says you can even do it with a bracha. But because they're like obligated, but they don't have to do it for their connection with Hashem. They have different responsibilities. But anyways, that doesn't apply to all time-bound mitzvahs. There are exceptions. First of all, Matzah is an exception. Yom Tif, in general, there's exceptions, but this concept is a shaval taseh. It's not an active mitzvah according to this perspective. So then women would be obligated because it's not an active thing to do. We just don't have chametz on Pesach, don't own chametz. So a woman, if she gets rid of her chametz, she fulfills this mitzvah too. It would apply to women. They would get this mitzvah on a biblical level because even though it's time bound, it has to do with a certain time of the year that triggers it, the obligation. But still, since it's passively, if you, according to that perspective, that it's passive, then it is applicable to women, and they totally get this mitzvah, and they're obligated to this mitzvah. Now, regardless they cannot own chametz on Pesach, because that's a negative. But the difference is if you also have this mitzvah for women. If they're counting mitzvahs, could they check this one off? Okay. Maybe it's not the Mechav, it's some other sefer who quotes it. My Yomtiv. Ayin ba'achreinim v'taisis kedushin v'shem Hari Yerushalayim. Okay. Aval ima mitzvah v'kum v'essay, if the mitzvah is fulfilled positively, yesh li stapik, then it's not so simple if they have this mitzvah. Because it's a mitzvah seishas ma'an grama. And it's active. Okay, he says the other svarim you could check, the way they analyze this, but he says that could be another practical difference. Number 6. Now, I skipped a little here. If I put 3 dots in general when I'm quoting things, that means I take out a little bit. You don't have to have any kavanah when you get rid of your chametz. Because when are you doing the mitzvah? When the clock strikes 12, noon, not midnight, noon on Erev Pesach, and Hashem looks at your possessions, or he sends some angels to do an inspection, and there's no chametz in your ownership, in your domain, they check the mitzvah for you. That's how you get it.
But then if you take it after Hashem,
There's no like concept of having kavanah by the mitzvah. If it's a positive mitzvah to destroy chametz, so the kavanah l'dash hasayim mitzvah sichas kavanah. According to their opinion, that there's also a debate about this. Do you have to have intent that I am doing a mitzvah now when you do a mitzvah? That can only apply if it's a positive mitzvah. If it's a passive mitzvah. It's an active mitzvah. If it's an active mitzvah, there's a time to have the kavanah. But if it's fulfilled passively, when should you have that kavanah? When are you doing the mitzvah? After midday, but then there's no more chametz left. But if the mitzvah is fulfilled actively, then according to the opinions that mitzvahs require kavanah, there's opinions that if you don't have kavanah by a mitzvah, you don't get the mitzvah. If you're walking outside shul, well, let's say from a Chabad perspective, you walk outside the shul, you leave shul, and you see a guy say, what were those? I'm a trumpet player. I just was listening. There was amazing sounds the guy was doing. It sounds so interesting. All these interesting notes. I was taken by it. I was listening, standing outside, listening by the window the last 10 minutes. What was that all about? He says, are you Jewish? Yeah. Do you have to blow shofar for him again? Yes. If mitzvah sichas kavanah. He totally did not think he's doing a mitzvah. You understand? You have to have in mind you're doing a mitzvah. It's not just to do everything. There are exceptions. Some say if it gives you pleasure, like eating things, then there's another component that you can attach to it without the kavanah. That if someone forces you to eat matzah, without the paskins, that you get it. If you didn't want it, you still get the mitzvah. Because it still benefits your body. It's interesting. But even according to the perspective, it needs kavanahs. But it's a debate. But according to the opinion that mitzvahs need kavanah, or else you don't get the mitzvah, then when it will only apply if you destroy your chametz. Let's say you destroyed your chametz by midday at a Pesach, but you did not have in mind you're doing a mitzvah. You just dropped it. Everyone's throwing food in a fire, so you threw yours in. Did you get a mitzvah? You didn't even know about it. You thought they're just like practicing or whatever. You didn't know about the mitzvah.
Fuel for the bonfire.
You thought you were just going to throw in some garbage. Do you get a mitzvah? Well, if it's passive, who cares what you're thinking? But if it's active, you might not get the mitzvah. You just lost the mitzvah. It's like you didn't have a garment of 4 corners. You just lost the mitzvah. Sometimes situations will stop you from doing the mitzvah. You don't get the credit for it. How does the Rambam view it? It's continuing the Minchas Chinuch. V'hinei midivrei Rabbeinu Moshe, right? The Rambam, Shekasav, he writes like this: Mitzvah sasei lahashbis hachometz. Then he says it's a positive mitzvah to do tashbisu on it. That's not translated yet. And then afterwards the Rambam writes, and what is the method to fulfill this seizing the chametz, making it cease existing? And then he goes on to define, he doesn't quote the whole thing. I should have quoted more. I should bring the rest of this Rambam. Okay. He says, from these terms of the Rambam, and he goes on to say you have to destroy it in fire at this time, right? So, Ein Echra, the Hebrew converse, it doesn't mean it has to be positive. Because it looks like from those words of the Rambam, it looks a little bit like he's saying you have to actively destroy it. It's a positive mission to destroy it. But it's not so simple. Why? Shabbos, he also writes similarly by Shabbos. And there also, and also here it could mean automatic. So you can't really prove from the way the Rambam starts off that it has to be active. The Rambam starts off, you have a positive mission to destroy it, and what's the way to do it? If it was passive, who cares how you do it, right? Who cares? There is no way to do it. You just don't have chametz. Whatever you did is fine with me, right? But that doesn't really prove anything. Why? Adarabah, because of the Hamitzvah that say sheyashmis koydem zman iser achilasei. The Rambam does write that you have to destroy it before. It would seem to be clear that mitzvah b'shav al taseh. Di bekum v'eseh b'nolei. How do you get this? How could you do it before? How do you get the mitzvah if you do it before? You just got rid of your chametz before the mitzvah kicked in. It's at midday. Dilma mitzvah rak v'chatzos. Zman shekava taita, which is the taita. How do you know you can do it before? You could do it early. Came before b'taisvis psachim daled amid beis diber amaskama deraisa. This is the taisvis we actually mentioned in the previous class. He discusses there, taisvis eich nelef bito mitashbisu. He says, how do you learn bito from tashbisu? Yeah, what Rashi does. Hadam nino lekamon achile. He says, how could you learn bittul from tashbisu? Rather, he has another source for bittul, the concept of bittul that he holds its hefker. Remember that we discussed? So, hamil lekamon achile hu bechatzois. Bechatzois he has shalevata. The hu lachas mani surei. This is what Taisus. This is Taisus's proof against Rashi's interpretation of bittul. And if the mitzvah was fulfilled passively, imkain like kasha klal. The Torah is just saying it should be destroyed before midday. So according to Taisus, you must look at it that it's kumase, that you have to actively destroy the chametz. Unlike Rashi, seems to imply that it's a shav v'altase. That's how Rashi looks at it. Because you could destroy it before. Remember, that was one of the nafkaminas. I think the fifth one, right? That if you destroy it, when do you destroy it? After midday or before? If it's passive, you just got to do it before. And then automatically at midday, the clock strikes. The angel does his inspection. There's no chametz in your possession. You get checked. You got to check. But if it's active, you have to do it seemingly at midday. Because or else you it's like you destroyed your garment before you could put the strings on it. You lost the mitzvah. The Torah says to do it at midday. And now it's just a tease. We're not going to do this. But he keeps after this whole discussion. You're starting to appreciate how he starts off his introduction. He says, so much has been said about this topic. I'll just say one word b'kitzur. And he goes through this whole thing. And this is after everything I skipped. It goes on a lot more. So he concludes, from everything I discussed, he basically defends that he could explain everybody looks at it this way or could look at it each way. There's no proof that's like solid. And you could explain you could explain it that way. That they all hold as passive. Basically, he brings all the scenarios and he says you could explain it somehow that it fits with this perspective. And also the Rambam, that it seems to imply the Rambam says you have to destroy it before. So so like the Ikar mitzvah says she mushmas bechatzos. Okay, so it has to be destroyed from midday, so you have to destroy it before midday. Okay, that's how you fulfill the positive mitzvah of destroying it, by destroying it before. And then automatically you get the mitzvah when the clock strikes noon. If so, can be yomtiv. In yesh chametz, if you have chametz on Pesach, the following should is chametz mikol v'kaim kaim mitzvah. He's reviewing now all the nafkaminas again. Any way that you get rid of the chametz, you get to start getting the positive mitzvah. Because the positive mitzvah tashmisu kicks in at midday noon, and it continues for the duration of Pesach. If you ever have chametz by mistake, it turns up, you didn't sell it, you didn't find it, and it turns up, you have a positive mitzvah tashmisu. How do you get the mitzvah? It doesn't matter how you destroy it. If you eliminate it, you flush down the toilet, even if we said somebody eats it, it doesn't have error. It doesn't take away from getting the mitzvah tashmisu. Because it's not a mitzvah above Aveda. Because it's separate. How you get rid of it is irrelevant to the fact that you don't have chametz. It's two separate concepts. Again, it's a terrible shit to eat chametz on Pesach. Very serious, right? It's obviously just theoretical to bring out the point. But it wouldn't take away from the mitzvah tashmisu, because it's not connected to the method of elimination is not connected. It's irrelevant to the fact that you fulfill it as soon as you don't have chametz in your possession. If you say it's passive. And he reviews the other nafkaminas. And if your friend grabbed your chametz and burned it for you on another Pesach, according to this perspective, you don't have the right to take it to Bezdin and sue him for stealing your mitzvah. Because you didn't take your mitzvah away. It's not like he covered all the blood, and you lost the mitzvah. Parenthetically, right? By kabaris, when we do that mitzvah, it's a very rare mitzvah, right? Because we don't really slaughter ourselves often. But by kabaris, it's actually the shaychet's mitzvah. You have to ask him rishus to do it, or he can take you to court and sue you for covering the blood without permission, because you give it the slaughter for you, but it's his obligation to cover the blood. He's supposed to, or whatever. If he's letting you sue it.
When they have the brachas on there on signs,
Yeah.
usually it's a sign that you're
Okay. Oh, very good. Very good.
Burnish to the tip jar.
וגם אם אוכל לא יהיה במצווה הבא בעבד, איקר מצווה בשעה. Okay, we said that nafkamina already. Okay, let's stop it. Let's go over the 6 nafkaminas. Who could help me refresh them? Who's taking good notes? If the mitzvahs kum ve'eseh or shav al taseh. I'm going backwards. Tashmisu. Is it kum ve'eseh or is it like tishbais on Shabbos? Tishbais on Shabbos.
Like both.
Two perspectives. There's two perspectives. The 6th nafkamina was you have to have kavanah when you destroy it. We're going backwards. I'm going to go backwards through the slides. You have to have kavanah. If you say it's an active mitzvah, and there's opinions that mitzvah strict is kavanah. So if you didn't have kavanah, you lost the mitzvah. But if it's a passive, then it doesn't matter how you destroyed it, because as soon as the clock strikes 12, Hashem says his angel, they check. You don't have chametz, you check off the mitzvah. You got the mitzvah of tashmisu. That's how you fulfill it. Just like when you don't work on Shabbos, you get the mitzvah of tishbais as well. It's a positive mitzvah. You don't have to do anything for that. It didn't work. You get both mitzvahs together. You fulfill the lois essay and the essay together. Number 5.
Isn't the taich of tashmisu means to destroy?
No. It means you should take a break. The other perspective is you should take a rest. Like tishbais, exactly.
And in the Gemara, it's explained that
It's a whole discussion there.
pure.
And he discusses all the cases, all the sides of it. And there's Rashi, there's Taisus, but we discussed a little bit before, but it actually is the same word as tishbais. By Shabbos, there's a positive mitzvah tishbais.
But doesn't the Gemara teach it as pure?
It is mentioned, but there's a big machlekes in there how to understand.
in the Gemara?
And beer means to make it not eliminate it from your domain. There's a lot of
And it's not
discussion
how we
about
learn
it.
out you should burn it. You should burn it.
So according to some opinions, yes.
You have to.
Some say because it uses certain words, so it's a better way to do it or the only way to do it. It's different opinions. Let's go over the 5 nafka because you missed the whole beginning. So where we presented the perspectives. Okay. The next one was number 5 was a woman required to do this mitzvah. If it's usually generally they're exempt from positive mitzvahs, but if it's passive, doesn't involve an action,
They do have
then they have to do
because
it.
they were also involved in the accident.
No, not because of that. Because time bound, they're exempt from unless it's passive. The next one, number 4, when do you have to destroy? Before chatzos or after chatzos? At the moment of chatzos. If it's passive, you have to do it before, and then by chatzos, it's done. You get the mitzvah, start getting the mitzvah. But if it's active, then just like you can't do a bris before the 8th day, you can't destroy it before the time, or else you ruined your garment. You have no more garment to put strings on. You took away your own mitzvah opportunity if it's an active mitzvah. Oh, sorry, I'm going the wrong way. We're going backwards now. And number 3 was the mitzvah baba aveda. It's not a mitzvah baba aveda if you eat it and destroy it that way. For now, you still fulfill tashbisa because it's not related to how you got rid of it. It's not like you have to destroy it a certain way or anything.
I was going to ask you about that, Rabbi, just because we were reading Rambam yesterday.
Yeah.
They're saying that a Nazir, who becomes impure, he shaves his hair because it's a positive mitzvah, even though it violates a negative mitzvah that you should not.
Oh, it's another discussion. Well, he has to. He has to then.
But the Rambam uses some words like
It's an interesting Russian, but you have to say it. Leave it for after. Let's see. Okay, number 2 was if you could take it to Bezdin, sue somebody for stealing a mitzvah. And the first one we had was, should I buy chametz just to fulfill the mitzvah destroying it?
Yes.
If you say it's passive, there's no concept.
Do that, yeah.
But if you say if you don't get the mitzvah, it's like just like there's a concept of buying a garment that's made out of the right material that has 4 corners in order to be able to do the mitzvah. And if not, let's say you didn't buy that garment. You don't have any garment that's 4 corners. You don't get the mitzvah. Did you violate the prohibition of wearing a 4-cornered garment without tzitzis? No, but you don't get the mitzvah. Same thing. If you don't have chametz, you didn't chametz on Pesach. Great, you did the loisase. You fulfilled the loisase. But did you get the mitzvah?
No.
No, you have to have chametz and destroy it. That's according to the active, the kum ve'eseh. Okay, I hope you expanded your Russian Tavis knowledge at least. He says he leans more to passive, and he passive.
Who is it?
The Minchas Chinuch we're learning.
What is it?
This is the Minchas Chinuch. The Rebbe's recited. It's
You said that was Rashi's.
what?
You said that was Rashi's.
He says the Rambam is more this way, and all of them. He explains everyone could be understood this way. He leans more this way,
I remember.
especially the fact that we do it before chatzos. He feels that if it was active, you would have to do it after chatzos, right at chatzos, and if not, it'd be like doing a milah before the 8th day, because the mitzvah of tashbisu is achmayim alisha tashbisu. So sha'ar v'madechem has to be after chatzos, and if you do the mitzvah earlier, you ruined it. How can we do it earlier? He says the mitzvah is that through destroying it, you don't own it. I think I brought one word out there. Let me see.
Yeah, what's the legend out there? That's
You have to see the Alter Rebbe's thing, but I'm jumping real quick. I think I put something here. Midday, the Alter Rebbe writes, if there's no chametz found, it retroactively knows the action taken to achieve this with mitzvah status. Very, very fascinating. But the actions that you do to facilitate the fulfillment of a mitzvah are mitzvah actions. That's how the Alter Rebbe writes.
Like we were talking about searching for
So-
limits.
At midday, once you were able to pass that angel inspection, that there's no chametz in your possession, now they look back at all the things you did before, the vacuuming, the scrubbing, the cleaning, and they start stamping mitzvah onto each one of those. When it comes midday, and you did it properly, Taka don't have any chametz in possession, so everything then became a mitzvah. But it happens after midday, because that's what the mitzvah tashbisu says.
Mhm.
But all the things that you did before considered like a mitzvah after the fact. Just so you should know, there's more and there's more.
By searching, why do you make the
Okay.
for destroying when you search for comments?